on its home floor, gets to take on John Calipari in Arkansas. Two top 25 teams led by their backcourt. Potent backcourt with Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff on one side. And Acuff and LeBaron Philon, each the engines that power these very productive offenses. Each averaging around 20 points a game. LeBaron Philon, he's got a running mate in the backcourt as well in Aiden Holloway. It is a loaded game tonight with plenty of action up and down. The SEC on ESPN. It is a big one in the standings. Of course, Todd Golden's team leading the way. They got a win last night. They're 11-2. If Alabama knocks off Arkansas, Golden and his boys get a two-game cushion in the conference. Jimmy Dykes, Carl Ravitch, we got the plaid memo that the coaches were putting out there, and we know we're going to see back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah, if you're looking for a couple of dark horse teams that could reach the Final Four out of this league, it's Alabama and Arkansas, because their guard play is electric. Darius Acuff Jr. from Arkansas is an absolute stud, Ravi, at the free throw line and below. His rim decisions, his high finishing percentage at the cup. What is separated for him is that 43% three-point shot. LeBaron Philon, we know, lives in the paint. 1 out of every 3 shots from this kid are at the rim. He also backs it up as a 39% three-point shooter. Both guys lead their teams in scoring right at 21 a game. The head of the snake, Acuff for Arkansas, Philon for Alabama.
One of a challenge tonight for Arkansas. They have about 7 healthy players. And in a game that's going to be up and down, Calipari said we may have to call timeout just to catch our breath. Brazil wins the tap, and it's Acuff and Arkansas in the road red. Philon starts off on Acuff. Reitzel sets the screen, Acuff, and that is a good start.
Yeah, just simple get action. Acuff throws it, gets it right back into a wide open pull-up jump shot.
So Philon and Holloway are the 2 scorers, although literally everyone on the team can shoot threes. And they will launch a bunch of them.
It feels like a game, the first one to 90 wins. That's the pace they both want to go with.
Holloway instead drives up and in, and he's become a late game closer for Alabama. Arkansas starting 5. Malik Thomas is a bucket. Billy Richmond, Billy Goat they call him, has been spectacular. And Brazil's got to stay on the floor and avoid foul trouble.
Yeah, no one is playing harder right now in the SEC than 24 in red, Billy Richmond, a guy that you don't have to run plays for. He just goes and makes plays.
Thomas threw it up, and that's good. And a foul on Sherrill. How about that play and catch by Reitzel?
It's the best 2-point percentage team in the SEC are the Arkansas Razorbacks, making right at 60% from the painted area. And both these teams, Ravi, they thrive off of those paint touches. Now, Alabama wants to grab paint and shoot threes. Arkansas, not as heavy from the three-point line. They pound you, man, getting that ball inside.
Yeah, I misspoke. It was Pringle, of course, who was once wearing the other team's uniform, now back in the building and converting a three-point play.
And Nados will tell you, Nick Pringle was one of the smartest high IQ big guys he's ever coached. A lob threat protects the rim.
And he says playing with that joy again that we saw here.
Yeah.
Arkansas closed to avoid the three-point shots, and Richmond, good battle with Amari Allen, up into him. He's got a chance for 3.
I think he is terrific. Amari Allen does a little bit of everything. That typical blue blazer guy, man, that can just do so many things for you. But he caught this ball in the corner and goes isolation ball against Calipari's best one-on-one forward defender, Billy Richmond, right through his chin to the rim for 5 in white.
Amari Allen is an 8 rebound per game guy. He leads the team, and he will go get it, and he converts the three-point play. Alabama works a lot on free throw shooting today during the shoot-around. A lot.
Well, they have a unique free throw game, don't they? At the end of each practice, a make counts for 1, a miss counts for 3, and you're trying to get to 100 on the makes.
Thomas, and that bucket is big for both teams to start this game.
Those 2 guards for Arkansas, the only 2 in the country that are freshmen on the same team, averaging over 15.
Good. Philon used his body, takes it all the way in, no good, and Brazil skies for the rebound. And they got Acuff on the other side. Richmond didn't see him, but Billy Richmond makes layups and dunks, and that's all he's done his last now 20 baskets.
Yeah, coming off of a game against Auburn where he had 12 makes, 7 layups, 5 dunks. He lives at the rim.
a higher percentage shot. Good start for Arkansas on the road as Sherrill throws it up, and there to bring it down is Jemison.
It is a built-in threat for Alabama, Rowdy. They put those corners covered up. Anytime there's a penetrating dribble, if you step up, the lob play out of the dunker spot comes into play.
Richmond, rare three, that's no good. And again, you highlight the layups and the dunks.
Yeah. Billy Richmond is shooting 10% on unguarded threes in SEC play.
Yeah. Holloway wide open for him. That's a virtual layup.
He is not shooting 10%. He's in the high 40%. Aiden Holloway again. To guard Alabama, you got to guard the ball and keep them out of the paint and take away those spray threes.
Number one shooter in the SEC with threes. Number 6 in the NCAA, Aiden Holloway. They got 5 on the shot clock, and Jemison is on Thomas. On the baseline, Pringle, no good, didn't hit anything. Good defense. And here's Jemison. Bam. (12-9), the late arriving crowd now filling in as Acuff pulls up, and that's off. Alabama's taken 6 shots, made 5. And another 6 of 7. Red hot start. And a timeout on the floor.
Well, Alabama, we know they're going to take 35, 36 three-point shots a game. It always sets up, though, with that penetrating dribble. Holloway with a rise and fire with a beautiful rotation on that ball. And then Arkansas, here's their answer. They are electric in transition. One of the faster pushes in the SEC comes from the Razorbacks. Amari Allen, man, if you're Arkansas, your transition defense pickup point, Ravi, it has to be outside that three-point line. Hot start for Roll. Alabama has come out moving that basketball, Ravi. They have 6 makes and 3 assists, sharing the ball well. LeBaron Feinlund has not scored yet. I think that's a good sign, man, for Alabama, for your lead guard to be in control of the offense. Other guys getting good looks at a hot start. I'm a little surprised that Cal took a timeout. Remember, he only has 7 guys.
Yep.
He told us our timeouts tonight have to be based on, are my guys tired? The next dead ball would have been a timeout. Cal obviously felt with his gut, I got to stop this run right now. So he uses one instead of waiting for that under 16 media timeout.
It was a 10-0 run. We kept talking about 7 guys. Carter Knox is not available. Ewan and Wagner will be the 2 guys that come off the bench for Arkansas. Meantime, it may be as healthy as Alabama has been all year. And Nate Oates thinks this team is really, really capable of great things once healthy. Richmond a pull-up. That's short. You try to follow it, does, and puts it up and in.
He absolutely just whips people's backside with effort.
Took that away from Bol Bol, and is limping badly as he comes down the floor.
Well, his feelings are hurt more than his foot.
Houston Millett also onto the floor for Alabama, wearing 95 in the corner. Feinlund trying to push the defender away, couldn't, and here's a chance for Acuff, who looks up and sees Schreitzel and blows right by him.
It is almost impossible to take Darius Acuff away in transition, because he went right through and around a really good defensive wall.
Bol Bowen's shot is off, and who comes in to get the rebound? Acuff. Calipari said he's as tough as any player he's ever coached.
Arkansas has been a low turnover team, Ravi, the last 7, only 9 turnovers per game.
That's what Richmond does, man. He absorbs a body blow, and now 4 straight out of that timeout.
Yeah, if you're Alabama, you have to absorb his drive. You're playing off of him, but you can't let him get that deep.
Good blow by there, but a missed layup. Back up again. Finger roll will work. Difficult shot. Amari Allen is claiming his shirt was grabbed.
Well, Amari Allen, don't be shocked if he's not a first-round pick as well in this loaded freshman class. Positional size as a big wing.
Acuff, really difficult shot. Good defense that time. Forced out and off balance by Reitzel. Splash right in the face face of Acuff goes Phylon.
And Phylon sends a message to Acuff after the make. You don't step up on me early, I'm going to make you pay. It's a lazy closeout by Darius Acuff.
So a game of runs right here after scoring 4 in a row. Richmond will put one up. That's no good. And another uncontested shot.
Yeah, so Alabama has Richmond shooting pull-up jump shots, not letting him get to the rim.
Yeah.
And that is the game plan coming in.
Millett, his first one too strong. Acuff picks up another rebound.
Well, he has gotten involved on the glass, has he not, this kid?
And there is just no fear when he has the ball going downhill. None.
Yeah, none. And no urgency by Alabama to get back and stop the basketball. Well, when your point guard scrapes down and rips that thing off the glass and comes with that type of speed, it is a tough cover.
Acuff, 6 points, 3 rebounds. Give him his 4th rebound. Little Vinnie Johnson in him too. When he gets going, man, he is really difficult to stop as it's knocked out of bounds on the stay with Arkansas.
There are so many ways to describe Darius Acuff. The first thing about this kid is he is absolutely tough as nails. He doesn't get too high or too low. His expression's always the same. Has a very serious demeanor about him, but he is not phased and has not been phased at any stage so far in his young career. Just always under control with that basketball, a tight handle. Shooting about 65%, Ravi, at the rim as a finisher.
Out of bounds, Jimmy. It's still Arkansas. DJ Wagner into the game. We'll see how many minutes he gets. His minutes have been dramatically reduced. They made a switch and started Malik Thomas, and that reduced Wagner's minutes. But he's likely going to play a handful tonight, given their lack of roster depth. Acuff, the pride of Detroit right now, and he hands it to Brazil. Doesn't take the 3. High arcer off the window, challenged by Sherrill.
What a great job by Brazil, though, to attack that gap, and the very high release on the right side, impossible to get to.
Wagner's the guy now chasing Holloway around. Thomas trying to blow up the Sherrill screen. Right, so blocked by Acuff. Brazil will get fouled by Jemison. Very physical defense by Arkansas.
No, Arkansas, to your description, trying to blow up every dribble handoff action. Arkansas has developed into a pretty physical team. They were not that in non-conference play, but Brazil, you got to respect the shot fake because he can make threes. Such a long stride with that first step, covers a ton of ground. And then the block from behind by Acuff. He has finished at the rim. He's been a dynamic point guard in conversion offense, blocking shots, scraping down to get in that defensive glass.
31 points he had against Auburn. Acuff made seven 3-point field goals that night. Malik Ewan, 12 in red into the game. Acuff feeling it and finding it. Darius Acuff is having a highlight resume type start to this game with his scoring, rebounding, and the block.
Ravi, he is a star guard. Free throw line and below, which is how you judge how good are you as a guard. He is outstanding at that part of the floor.
Wagner and Holloway. There's a lot of hands being used by these defenders, and that's got the attention of the crowd. There's a block by Brazil, who gives you over 2 a game.
Sherrill's got to find that backside 3.
Thomas, a about-face 3 to give him a 4-point lead.
And how about the 5.5-minute stretch now by Arkansas after that timeout?
Sherrill, blocked from behind by Ewan, and there's the whistle. Well, nothing is coming easy at the rim tonight, that is for sure. Jimmy, the timeout from the Hall of Fame coach Calipari seemed to pay dividends. Part of that's because Acuff is on broil right now. What a start for him with 8 points. And Malik Thomas, who is money, buries a 3. We knew we'd be in for a high-scoring affair, and all indications are we are. watching these games. Arizona and Houston. I know, Jimmy, you're going to talk about guards. Kingston Fleming's a little bit later. Outstanding against an Arizona team that's banged up. And then, boy, what a test for both Michigan and Duke. 6:30 Eastern time. That game's being played in Washington, D.C.
That could be a preview of the Final Four this year. Arizona, Houston, Michigan, and Duke. And if there is a front line in college ball that can hang with the Florida Gators, it's the Michigan Wolverines. Yep. And Duke defensively, I think, is one of their better defensive clubs they've had last 4 or 5 years. Just must-watch TV again this coming Saturday.
Jarrell's free throw ends a 9-0 run for Arkansas, and that was when Ewan and Wagner entered. So positive minutes from the guys coming in off their bench. If you're into that plus-minus scoring, Acuff missed one. Ewan had it for a chance.
We're on pace for a 75-76 possession game, which is exactly what Alabama and Arkansas wants to be at. Not a team that grinds you down really on either end.
There goes Jimmy. The team shoots about 36 three-point field goals a game. They've taken 6 tonight of their 16 shots.
54% of their shots overall are from the three-point line. One of the highest ratios in the college game.
Yeah, that was going to be an alley-oop, and the ball ends up in the hands of Jemison. The left-handed layup, aggressive. Khalil Bethia also into the game now. He got pushed off by Acuff, but he's getting some minutes. Brazil sets a back screen against him, and that allows Acuff to handle. Thomas is wide open. And boy, man.
Anytime you describe the action, Thomas is wide open, it's going to be 3 points for Arkansas. Just lack of communication by Alabama on the switch. Watch out.
Bethia into the game, and he looks at Nato. That's about the worst guy you can pass the ball to out of bounds if you're wearing white.
No
coach. There's a nice chest-high bounce pass to him, but not the guy you want catching it.
Interesting, Cal told us today, if I sense my guys are tired, I'm going to play call and slow the game down and let my guys rest on offense. That's 101 basketball. Rest on offense, not on defense.
How about this, Jimmy, too? That was the first turnover of the game. Thomas feeling it, too. He and Acuff doing exactly what we talked about at the top. 8 straight for Thomas. Nowhere to go but a Bowen open 3. No good. And Wagner had it. That's going to be a foul on the floor. And Wagner's kind of grabbing at that left leg of his, but he's all right.
Around the Acuff and Thomas, they're getting anywhere they want with that basketball. And Malik Thomas wraps that screen up top, and kind of a go catch for him, catching it on the go, getting downhill, but really reads the rim protection for Alabama well, pulls up to a very balanced 15-foot pull-up jump shot.
Arkansas shooting 65% in this game. And you can see Oates, I mean, his plan is to get fresh legs out there, given Thomas's 3, no good. Wow. Look at Richmond go up and get it. Acuff. Yes, and credit Billy Richmond with 3 on that one.
What do I say about the ball when you get it as an offensive rebound? The ball knows it deserves to go in on the next release. Man, can Acuff shoot that ball. The best shooting point guard Cal has ever had.
Acuff, historic numbers this season and in his career now for Arkansas. Millett had it in the paint, sees Bowen, who goes baseline. That's blocked by Ewan. So you see Acuff ahead of Scotty Thurman. Most points by an Arkansas freshman, and Thomas is feeling it.
Yeah, but I cannot say enough about Billy Goat Richmond. Back-to-back plays, effort plays, resulting in 3-point shots for the Hogs.
Thomas and Acuff, 24 of the 35 points right now. And they can't miss. Allen, no answer. Wagner pushes Richmond. All he sees is the backboard and the bucket.
Yeah, Billy Goat, as they call him in Fayetteville, is showing you why.
No timeout from Oates. Team down 14, and there's a foul. It looks like Doug Schaus is going to call it on Acuff, and he will.
I mean, one of the best transition offensive teams in the country, the Arkansas Razorbacks. Billy Richmond gets in there and scraps for that tough rebound, and the kick-out 3. This time he drives the ball, makes a great, not good, a great decision at the rim to find Malik Thomas for the sidestep 3. And here's 24 in red again. He is a problem right now for Alabama, just matching his energy, his toughness, and his fight.
About a 13-0 run, and Oates is going to try to shoot his way back into this thing as Sherrill fires it in off the backboard.
Alabama needs more of that from Sherrill. He wants to leak out and shoot threes, but they need his big body pounding away on the inside.
And they got two great point guards, I should say, in Thomas and Acuff. There's no problem sharing the ball. They get along incredibly well. Richmond hard. That opens up Thomas, who steps. That's blocked. 4 seconds, and that's a contested jump shot by Richmond, and it goes in.
Billy Richmond drives baseline, makes the pass. The shot gets blocked, and who comes up with a loose ball? 24 in red.
14-point cushion. Phylon. They're going to need him to put up some numbers, and LeBaron Phylon now has 6.
No lead is going to be safe in this game.
Yeah. One-on-one, Acuff, Phylon. He kicks it. Wagner's turn. Allen. Boy, there's just no conscience and no shot they won't take.
Well, and Cal looking at Acuff, you cannot be low in your pickup point against Alabama. You can, but they'll make you pay with a 3.
Thomas throws one up. Not a good pass at all. And here's Phylon with Richmond there. He wants a 3. LeBaron. Too strong. I wonder if Arkansas's legs are getting a little tired as Phylon can't get it to go. Another winning play underneath by Millette. And a foul on Richmond.
What fight back in terms of the effort by Alabama just the last couple of minutes. Malik Thomas wired to score right there with Darius Acuff. I said it earlier, the only team in the country who has 2 freshmen over 15 a game. That's just 2 wide open, man. That's just an easy skip to Malou for a wide open 3. The answer, Amari Allen. High octane offense, the number.
Yeah, Kevin, Seth, thank you very much. The ball's very much in this thing at 8-4. They still have a test against Alabama, which we will see. But that's a defensive team, unlike the 2 tonight, that are playing at a high level offensively and don't, especially in the case of Alabama, seem to care too much about having to stop the other team. We'll outscore them.
Yeah, they come at you with a we will outscore you mentality, and you know what? They're pretty darn good at doing it. Nate Oates, though, pleading with his guys, if we're going to get hot at the right time, we've got to tighten up on the defensive end. I think it starts with LeBaron Phylon, this kid with the ball. He was very good defensively last year, maybe taking a step or a half step back so far this season.
Sherrill hard, another block that time by Nick Pringle. Arkansas is winning the battle at the rim defensively, their 3rd block of this first half. Richmond's gone to the bench, Jimmy. He picked up his 2nd foul.
That's a big 2nd foul. Darius Acuff can get in the lane with a ball screen or without a ball screen.
Acuff was right behind Brazil. Instead, he goes with the right. What a shot.
He shot the ball down at the rim as high as he got. He has driven the ball twice now. Once right, once left.
Phylon down low to Sherrill, and he picks up the bucket, and a free throw coming. Foul on Pringle.
Said it a couple of minutes ago. Alabama needs Sherrill around that rim with some body blow baskets. And Phylon this time gets a piece of that paint. Sherrill balance, gets his feet under his shoulders so he doesn't get knocked off balance. And look at the high release by Brazil. I mean, his head and ball, everything is above the rim. An elite finish by Trevin Brazil.
An improved player, isn't he, Brazil?
Yeah,
more consistent.
I think he's had 17 blocks.
Yeah.
Trevin Brazil has in the last 4 or 5 games. Different player under John Calipari.
7-point lead, foul trouble, given only 7 available players for Arkansas is a real thing. And though Phylon, he's got 2 on the other side. Acuff, boy, with Phylon and a left hand in his face.
Well, it's a gamble to play zone. with Acuff and Malik Thomas on the floor. With one of them's on the floor, that's one thing, but not two, and Acuff makes them pay.
Allen left his feet, found Philon, finds the lane in the basket.
Good job running to get himself under control, because man, there was a violent drive with the ball, but finished it off with a very under-controlled final step.
Acuff has 14, Thomas has 13, Allen in double figures for Alabama with 11. Wagner passes it up, Brazil. That's short. Sherrill with the right rips it down, and they call a travel. The crowd thought that there was a foul on that play, but it was not called. It appeared as if Brazil may have had some contact with Sherrill.
Well, can't tell from that replay. Chuck Jones on the left side. It obviously looked like it from behind the play. Tough call against Sherrill, though.
Acuff, no. Holloway's only got 5 points. He's taken just 2 shots. He's made them both. Philon snaking his way in, and he will go to the free throw line, and it looks like they're going to get Pringle. No. They called that on Malik Thomas? Yeah, they called it on Thomas. This speaks to the point we've been making about Alabama. They're third in Division I in scoring. They're 349th in defense.
Well, now their pace also factors into the number of points that opponents are getting right there, but still, their defensive efficiency number is not what it needs to be if you're built to make a deep run in March. And Nate Oates is aware of it. He's on his guys daily about it.
But that's not new. I mean, we've been around Alabama for 10 years.
Sure.
And since Oates has been here, it always, because they have elite shooters, comes down to playing defense.
Yeah.
Buying into defense.
Nate Oates said early this year, Abby, he thought this would be his best shooting team he's had at Alabama. They're trending that way right now, making 13 threes a game, taking about 35 or 36 per game.
First time the senior from Latvia, Noah Williamson, who wears 15, is into the game. And right away, he comes in and picks up a foul. And that will be number 1 on Williamson in 1 second. 4 minutes to go. Arkansas 44-37. And Brazil, same spot he just missed from, comes up short. Thomas finds Acuff, and that one is off.
Boy, Alabama dodged one, did they not?
Yeah, 2. Allen, he got Brazil in the air. Off.
And a good job by Ewan, though, to be the second guy to rotate over, take away vision on that three.
Yeah, Wagner.
Why? I mean, look at Cal's reaction. He was saying the same thing with different words.
And then he just said, move the ball. Reitzel mismatch. He's got Ewan on him. So he tries to dance around him. He doesn't bite on that. Now he's got a 3. Boy, he moved all over the place, did Reitzel, to set up that 2.
Alabama might make one of those 10-foot shots a half, maybe one.
Arkansas has missed 5 in a row. Now Wagner thought about a bounce pass down low to Brazil, but it's Thomas. 16 in the first half.
Right, you put a stopwatch on Thomas. From the time he catches it to it's out of his hand, it's probably about 0.7 of a second, which is high level.
Philon went right by Wagner, gives him a look and a couple of words. Philon double figures as well.
You can see Cal slowing the game down right now, knowing I got 7 guys.
Yep.
He told us this is exactly what I'll do. I will play call and put us in some long offense possessions to catch our breath.
Acuff baseline. He picks up the foul on Wrightsell Jr. Acuff goes to the free throw line. If he makes both, he and Thomas will each have 16 points in this one.
Boy, this time of the year, every possession is magnified in the eyes of a coach. And Nate Oates knows how big this game is with trying to stay in touch with the Florida Gators. That's the shot I'm talking about for Alabama. That's about an 8 or 9 foot shot. Ravi, to his point, Arkansas is 6th in the nation. Opponents only get 9 points per game off of an Arkansas turnover because they're so tight and clean and strong with the ball.
Yeah.
It starts with Acuff, and man, you look at the 3 freshman point guards that have caught my eye in terms of will be lottery picks. Cal has one in Darius Acuff, Kingston Flemings, and Keaton Wagler at Illinois. Those 3 guys, I believe, will be in the top 6 or 7 picks overall the next draft. They are that good.
They are that good. And to Seth's point, the offense has been that good. It's an NBA feel to this basketball game as Acuff now will shoot a couple. And he will rattle the first one in. Jimmy, of course, the basketball continues. Should be another good one. It's going to be interesting to see how Arizona kind of gets through this. And there's a bunch of teams. That was one of Nate Oates' points today. Arizona's starting to deal with some injuries. Other teams have some of their bigger name players, which they've dealt with during the course of this season.
Yeah, the Big 12 right now is really dealing with injuries. How about A.J. Devontae's 24 points to break Danny Ainge's all-time BYU freshman record?
Gonna happen.
That's how good he has been.
Sherrell, man, living in that paint. And the 3 ball, no good. And Acuff bounces it off Phylon. Here we go, 3-on-2. Wagner, Acuff. Splash. Boy, is he a calm shooter. Acuff, 19 in the first half. He's made 7 field goals and 3 threes.
In a long, long list of great Calipari point guards, he's the best shooter that Cal has had from that 3-point line.
Can he shoot without a shoe? He's got to put his shoe back on.
No doubt he can. And Ravi, he can do it from all ways. He can come off screens. He can shot fake and sidestep. Darius Acuff was not full speed. He took a hard fall. Auburn player fell into him on Saturday. Was hobbled a little bit yesterday in practice, but that is just too easy for a guy that's shooting what he is from the 3-point line. Darius Acuff, 43% from 3 overall. A repeatable stroke.
Acuff on the team, Jimmy, coming into the game, had taken 104 shots in the SEC. He's taken 37 more shots than Thomas had coming into the game in conference. It's a bulk shooter and a bulk maker. He's going to try again. And it goes.
Ravi, that's on Alabama. Where's the ball screen defense on Darius Acuff? Coming off that thing completely clean.
22 points for Acuff. Wrightsell. That one is off. Acuff was there, and Sherrell is there to pick up the offensive rebound and flush.
Yeah, he's doing his job. Sherrell is exactly what Nate Oates needs from that 5 spot. A small team, but man, Sherrell's got to give him something around that rim.
All right, so Calipari, even though there's about a 5-second differential, wants to slow it down, take the air out of the ball, and get 1 shot.
Nate Oates traps the ball out of Darius Acuff's hands. Wants someone else to make a play. It's Wagner.
Oh, Wagner went himself, and he went quickly.
What a great job by Wagner. You're going to put 2 on Acuff. I'm still explosive enough to make you pay for that gamble.
A 57-point first half. Holloway. It's good. And a fitting way to end the first half. Holy smokes. 57-47. Arkansas shoots 60%. Alabama over 50%. And they delivered.
Yeah, shirts versus skins. Yeah. Shirts with a 10-point lead. Man, explosive offense, right, by both teams. Those 2 dudes right there in the freshman class. No stage has been too big this year. Darius Acuff is a bucket maker. You make a mistake on him in any type of coverage, that dude will make you pay.
8 threes for Arkansas, 3 more than Alabama. To the studio we go.
22 for Darius Acuff.
Rare air when an Arkansas team shoots and makes more threes than Alabama. It just doesn't happen. It happened in the first half. Jimmy Dykes and Carl Ravitch Look, it's rare that we actually sort of preview what might happen, and then it happened tonight.
Well, you look at those Arkansas guards, 31 NBA scouts in the building tonight. They judge guard play like I do. How do you do on the road in a big-time game? Man, have those guys delivered. Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas have combined to go 8 out of 10, Ravi, from the three-point line. Now, they came in shooting 42 and 43%. They're not catching Alabama by surprise. That's who they are. Too many open looks, too many easy step-ins in conversion. If you're Alabama, what are you going to do with Acuff and Thomas in the second half? That is the question of the game. These guys did not come out. They both played 20 minutes. They could both play the entire game. Alabama's got to get after Acuff and Thomas in the second half.
You have to imagine that Oates got into his team about defense, right?
You would think so, and as high usage as Thomas and Acuff are, only one combined turnover in the first half out of the 40 minutes they played.
All right, so they start with Allen, who immediately throws it to Brazil, who sees the green light and dunks it to start.
Ravi, that's not easy for a 6'10 guy to get the ball out in front of him and win the foot race to the rim. An explosive athlete is 7 in red.
All the way, found Sherrill. Phylon in the paint, little dump off to Sherrill for the flush.
They have had some success with that, have they not? Talking about Alabama. Draw that big up the floor, dump it off out of that dunker spot to Sherrill.
30 points in the paint, to your point. I mean, 30 of their 49 points in the paint. Give and go again to Pringle, who throws it up, and that was good D by Sherrill to hold his ground.
Yeah, he never got squared up, never was strong with the ball.
Got to chip away to double-digit deficit. Holloway, Sherrill, they would rather the 3 than the 2, and they will get the 2 and maybe 3 as it's put back up and in by Amari Allen.
Yeah, DJ Wagner just not tough at all, and he's going to come out, and Billy Richmond's going to come in. Richmond would not allow that rebound to be had by Alabama. And Wagner just makes no contact on the weak side board. Amari Allen, who is Alabama's version of Billy Richmond, just comes in, boom, grabs it with 2, gets inside of Wagner. Chance for an and 1.
Yeah, Allen leading the way, and that is 13 points on the night. Whistle here. Was it a lane violation? It may have been. Jimmy Richmond is back on the floor, and again, 7 players available for Calipari. Wagner and Richmond are the 2 guys with 2 fouls. Everyone else has 1.
Well, Cal was probably trying to buy the first 4 minutes with Wagner on the floor and saving Richmond, but because of the mistaken foul, Billy Richmond back on the floor.
Thomas. Boy, I tell you, Jimmy, he took a bunch during warm-ups and didn't make many. He is a big game red light player, and there's a steal. And Acuff. Look at Richmond win that battle. Amazing.
That is a Billy Richmond assist. 24 in red, checks in, and within 30 seconds, he just takes over the game on an effort play.
Nate Oates is not happy, Jimmy. I think you watched this Richmond rebound. There were 3 white shirts around him who didn't go get it.
Yeah, well, one guy has a bigger Valentine than everybody else. Billy Goat Richmond. Talk all you want about Acuff and Thomas, rightfully so. Simple 2-man game, and Thomas finds himself wide open, but it's been all about Billy Richmond getting Acuff and Thomas good looks. Malik Thomas and Darius Acuff, as fast as the game is slow to these guys on Alabama's floor.
Great point. They got 44 points. They've made 10 threes between them. 10.
He has 4 offensive rebounds. That time he went and got it with 3 white jerseys. Had just as good of a chance to come up with that loose ball rebound, and Billy Goat just whipped him with effort. And Billy Richmond right now, Ravi, he's getting 1 offensive rebound every 2 minutes and 20 seconds that he's on the floor. That's a crazy, alarming rate. And the celebration between Acuff and Malik Thomas just having a party right now in Tuscaloosa as true freshmen.
It's a stunning statistic. 10 threes between those 2 and 5 in the game for Alabama.
Yeah, the shot making by Arkansas so far is at a ridiculous level.
Sherrill working in the paint, and he couldn't get over the front of the rim. Pringle will pick up the foul.
I said it earlier. I do firmly believe Florida is a legitimate Final Four national title contender out of this league. If you're looking for another team, I think it's Arkansas, because that dynamic guard play, the wings of Richmond and Carter Knox, if and when he comes back healthy, and their front line, I think, is just good enough.
Yeah. 65-51 free throws coming, and tomorrow night ESPN's women doubleheader. 3 top 25 teams. Jimmy, number 9 Duke gets NC State at 7 Eastern time, and then a 17 versus 7 showdown with LSU and Ole Miss. Like everything else, both are available on the ESPN app.
Ole Miss right now, Coach Yo, big win over Tennessee earlier this week. They're one of the 4 teams right now that are on the outside looking in terms of being able to host. And if they can get hot at the right time, Ole Miss could slide up as one of those top 16 teams.
Well, back here, can Arkansas stay hot the entire game? They gave Thomas some room. He missed that one. Largest comeback this year by Alabama was 14 against Mississippi State.
They may
going to give that continuation? No. Chuck Jones said no. But that's the 3rd foul, I believe, on Billy Richmond.
That's a big play in this game. I mean, the max effort that 24 in red has brought, and DJ Wagner going to have to come back in now and give a good solid 4 or 5 minutes for Coach Cal.
Richmond goes to the bench. That's 10 points he's got in 11 minutes of play to go with the rebounds. They set up a corner 3. That's way short. And Acuff nearly had it. Now Brazil hustles for it. And good defense. Great defense that time. Coming back was Reitzel. This could be a big turning point. And a 3 from Jemison.
Coach Cal slowing it down, going to a play call. You absolutely do not want to turn that ball over right now if you're Arkansas and ignite this building.
Brazil thought he had a layup. Acuff fade away, finds the bottom. Acuff 24 points.
What's the play call? Isolation for Darius Acuff. Turn this thing into a one-on-one match. 5 in red wins it.
What a shooting night between Acuff and Thomas. The alley-oop went to Brazil. And a jump ball, and it's possession arrow Arkansas.
It just absolutely was not there.
No, in fact, they're going to call a foul on Sherrill.
Now look at Brazil. He comes up with it, and as he's going up, Reitzel comes in with a rip. And that led to a big-time 3 by Jemison. Alabama's so good at running to that slot 45 in their transition game. The building got loud, and Coach Cal said, that's okay. I got number 5 in red on my team. Let him go one-on-one. He gets to the sweet spot at that logo.
Arkansas still only 2 turnovers all game. 5 on the other side.
One of the best in the country at taking care of the ball the last 7 games.
Wagner wide open. Too strong. He's missed his shots, and we're going to keep it here. Foul called against Reitzel Jr. with a hold. That's his 2nd.
Ravi, I know Wagner's open, but there's a reason. He's a 20% three-point shooter. Just keep the ball moving right now for DJ Wagner. I'm saying the same thing that Cal and Chin and Bruiser are saying on that bench as well.
Yeah, 5 of 24 coming into the game from 3-point land. Acuff just slowing it down and knocking it down. 26 now in a game.
You are watching something special. He's going to be right there for the SEC Player of the Year as a true freshman.
Hard take and nowhere to go. Dump off there from Reitzel. Acuff surveys, and Brazil drives, throws it up. Not a great shot from Brazil. Williamson is back into the game. Alabama, Jim, is going to have to take advantage of the stops they get.
Yeah.
Scoring on the other end. That's going to be a moving screen. Williamson has played less than 15 seconds and has got 2 fouls.
Well, Darius Acuff is Detroit City tough, if nothing else. And he can beat you from the 3, but he is a star free throw line and below. Pulls up at the elbow, never gets rushed in NBA All-Star game appearances. And Kingston Fleming's is 6'4", Wagler's 6'6", Acuff is 6'3", but you can't go wrong with any of those three guys. They shoot it at a high clip. They play the game at a terrific pace. They don't show signs of being rattled. They're all explosive. You know, Wagler has positional size at 6'6", but man, this kid Acuff, I was there the first day of Derrick Rose's practice under Cal at Memphis and watched those great guards at Kentucky, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, on down the list. This guy is right there with the best of them that Cal has ever had.
Yeah, and by the way, there were a few coaches who were a little bit sort of turned off by Acuff.
Yeah.
And his attitude and his actions on the recruiting circuit. And that's going to be a moving screen against Pringle. And Cal was insistent that his method was going to help this guy. And he told me today, here's the thing about Darius Acuff. He knew what he needed.
Yep.
He needed to be coached hard. And he bought into what Cal's experience with all those guards you talked about. Man, has he turned into a high draft pick.
You can say a lot about Coach Cal. He has a magic touch for elite level point guards. He just knows how to handle them throughout the course of a year.
Yeah, the important word is handle them, right?
Yeah, that's it.
It's not just coach them, it's handle the whole thing.
Yeah.
13-point lead. Phylon Sherrill.
Good play by Nate Oates. Kind of that timeout. He goes to an empty two-man game on the far side of the floor away from his bench. Sherrill rolls out of it with really good footwork for a kid his size.
Wagner drives in. He will draw the foul.
Okay, I like that, though, making a play out of the corner instead of settling for a three.
Yeah. Jimmy, hoops spectacular on Saturday. Featured matchups, and these are all great games. Second-ranked Houston, fourth-ranked Arizona, 3 Eastern. Michigan squaring off against Duke. And the way that the Boozer brothers are playing. Kentucky, Auburn at 8:30. Iowa State, BYU at 10:30. There is nothing that you have to do on Saturday.
No,
if you love college basketball, then those 4 games.
Yeah, devastating news, right, from BYU. Richie Saunders
Terrible.
Out with a torn ACL. One of the all-time greats to ever suited up for the Cougars, right there with Danny Ainge, Jimmer Fredette.
Texas Tech took a bad hit too, right?
Topping out for the year. Teams in March that are hot, healthy, and hungry, man. Those are the ones that will make the deep runs.
An odd game for Alabama, who have 34 points in the paint. 34 points in the paint, and they have made 6 3-pointers.
Well, Arkansas's game plan was to make Alabama into a 2-point team tonight. You're not going to let Alabama get those 13 3-point makes that they're averaging, getting off 35 or 36 a game. So Arkansas's defense, Ravi, running Alabama off that 3-point line with some good success.
Acuff and Thomas have played every minute of this game.
There's no reason to take them out. They're not in foul trouble. They're not playing tired. The game is fast, but in their eyes, it's slower than the other 8 dudes on the floor.
And for all the points they've scored, there is a ton of time left in this game. Right?
Yeah,
a ton. Down to 10, trying to get the crowd here at the Coliseum into it. Acuff, ball on a string. Wagner got cut off defensively. Not this time as he throws it up with the left, and that is Wagner at his best.
I think he learned to turn down those threes now and drive that ball to the paint. He's right there with Acuff in terms of he can get into the paint, not the elite finisher that Acuff is. Acuff finishes at the rim, Ravi. 69% is what he shoots at the rim. Wagner's not that high percentage, but man, he gets low. Look how low he gets. He whips that defender, gets to that waistline, low, strong, and fast, wins the rim, and Wagner just did it.
Junior out of Camden, New Jersey, 6'4", 190. DJ Wagner, of course, the bloodlines of the Wagner family, long, successful. As Ewan's going to be replaced by Richmond. So keep an eye on Billy Richmond, 24 for the Razorbacks, back into the game.
Well, Arkansas can go small because Alabama's gone small with no Sherrill on the floor. Bowen the 5-man, and now Brazil.
He just fell down, too. Bowen, there was no trip there. Richmond's playing with 3 fouls, and a whole host of them are playing with 2. Foul trouble, something to keep an eye on as this game moves on with only 7 available players.
Bowen got tripped off ball, did he not?
Looked that way. Reitzel draws Acuff now. Brazil's left open. And a good battle by Bo and a good rebounder there to take one away from Richmond. Philon with his left spins it in. Not easy.
He learned that playing on his driveway back in Mobile, Alabama. 9 or 10 years old against older kids. Talked to him today about it. Decided to develop as a shooter there, but I developed my get to the rim game for my home driveway.
Thomas determined, and that was Brazil who picked up the missed shot. And another opportunity, and that's 3 more for Acuff.
He can flat out spin it, can he not, Darius Acuff? He can rip it, man, for a point guard.
Yeah, but in so many sports, it's the play before the play. And that time it was Brazil who picked up the ball. Philon will have a chance for 3.
That's what he developed on his driveway back home in Mobile. He's now a 39% three-point shooter himself, LeBaron Philon is. Made great progress from last year to this year in that part of his game, but he is still, he can do this, cross you up. Alabama gets the switch they want. And the little hold-off screen by Bo Bowen gets Philon to the left side.
Jimmy, it's happening a little bit. So Thomas now has 3 fouls.
Yeah.
So it is Richmond. Malik Ewan has gone to the scorer's table along with Aiden Holloway. 11-point cushion. 29 points in the game for Acuff. And a turnover. A rare turnover for Arkansas tonight. Just their 4th in the game.
But it was at least a dead ball turnover instead of a live ball turnover.
First time tonight that Malik Thomas is going to be taken out of the game, and again he sits with 3 fouls.
The Arkansas is averaging over 88 points a game. That's the most they've averaged since Nolan Richardson's national title team back in '94. That's how good this team is offensively.
Yeah. And the guards are certainly the monsters that feed that.
Yeah.
And tonight is no exception. 47 points combined, Acuff and Thomas. See how they do with now just Acuff on the floor.
Haven't talked about Holloway in this game a lot offensively. Alabama needs his stroke.
Allen in the paint. Look at Brazil stay down on the ground. Holloway, good bounce pass to Sherrill.
Same thing by Nados. Just go 2-man empty game on the side corner. Naked action. There's no one to come off to help. And Sherrill makes him pay. And what a pass by Holloway.
Under 10 now. All the points in the paint for Alabama. They've got 6 dunks tonight. Can Acuff do it again? 1-on-1. Finds Richmond, who throws it up. No good. A big momentum trip, and boy, an excellent effort by Allen. He will end up shooting 2 free throws. We are under 12 at a track meet.
Well, you can question Alabama's defense, but their offensive aggressiveness is going to keep them in a lot of games. That loose ball scramble rebound by Brazil results in the rise and fire by Acuff. Continuing to knock down threes at a high clip in this game, as it was his 5th. And there's the Sherrill answer. Nados has gone to it a couple of times. That empty corner's been good.
That is SEC Gymnastics, 9 Eastern Time, ESPN2 on Friday. Storyline you're looking for over the last 11 minutes in this game?
Yeah, the foul trouble for Arkansas.
Yep.
Pringle with 3, Billy Richmond with 3, Malik Thomas with 3. And Alabama doing damage from the 2-point part of the floor in this half. Right? They are 6 out of 6. That Sherrill 2-man game on the side has been good to them. We know Alabama can go on 9-10-0 runs as good as anybody in this league. And Cal knows it as well.
Some of these Olympic events, Jimmy, are literal marathons. And this one feels like that team from Alabama against a tired team that doesn't have a lot of depth. You're only down 8, maybe 7 after this. They're letting him hang around.
40 points in the paint for Alabama in this game is a big number.
Richmond drives. Move it back to Acuff. And Richmond pulls up, contested 2 over Sherrill.
Sherrill sunk back, expecting Richmond to come all the way to the rim, and Billy Richmond with a fast, quick, correct read for the pull-up jump shot.
Phylon all the way to the basket. No defense that time from Acuff.
Yeah, Acuff doesn't want to foul. Really, Arkansas doesn't want to foul at all. So Nate Oates keeping the offense simple. Let's go one-on-one and see if we can gain an advantage.
Richmond trying to do it again. Wild shot. And Sherrill with a rebound. Here's Holloway. He looks over his shoulder, sees Reitzel. Big 3, Latrell Reitzel. 4-point game. 7 straight made field goals for the Tide. Richmond knifes his way in. No good. Ewan ball fake. No. Sherrill another rebound. And Phylon, did that go off his leg? No, he didn't. But good defense there to prevent what would have been a building shaking layup.
Right, the previous possession, Arkansas took a bad shot, and that's a turnover in this building. Look at Phylon, man. He gets low and into the defender, just kind of knocks Acuff off the path. And there's that Reitzel sidestep, boom, nothing but the bottom. Reitzel has been so good, man, shooting that ball.
Yeah, and tonight, not really getting a lot of shots off. He's just 2 of 6.
But he's made 27 out of his last 55 coming in.
Yeah, and they're 9 of 11 this half. They are shooting tremendously well in the second half. Allen goes left. Bad pass. Brazil was there. Sherrill trying to shovel one to Allen out of bounds off of Arkansas.
Yeah, Sherrill should have gone up. I mean, right through the chin of an Arkansas defender. And now Nate Oates has 5 seconds on that shot clock to work with.
Get it in, they do, and a fadeaway that finds the bottom. Amari Allen. As close as they've been in a long time. And they've made 8 straight field goals.
This is Acuff time for Calipari, you know.
Feels like it. Brazil dribbles himself into a corner. He's double teamed, steps right through, can't get it to go. And a chance for Alabama to grab a lead with a 3.
I just don't think that was a possession that Acuff should have given it up.
And Thomas picks up his 4th foul.
And that's a bad foul, Ravi. There's no great foul, but that's a bad one. You're reaching, you know how valuable you are with a short bench. And Malik Thomas is a true freshman, makes a true freshman defensive mistake, gets all hands into the front of the jersey of Phylon, and man, a costly mistake for one now to have to sit.
Phylon's free throw, if he makes it, will be his 20th point of the night. Team's been led by Phylon, Allen with 17, Sherrill with 16, and that's point 20 for LeBaron Phylon.
There were some questions about his groin coming into this game. He was a little sore this morning during the walkthrough, and the concern was defensively, can he stay in front of the ball side to side and offensively still get downhill? And he has answered that question big time, especially in this second half.
Wow. We are tied, a 9-0 run and a brand new ball game with a banged up team on the road in foul trouble. You're right, it's Acuff time, but you wonder for a dude that's played every minute, how tired is he?
Well, I've not ever seen him play tired this year. This would be the first time if he does. I mean, his will, Acuff, is hard to kill.
Five on the shot clock. Wagner to Richmond. Loves the baseline, and he lays it in. He is so explosive.
What a go catch by Billy Richmond. Nate Oates was so concerned about that go catch action from Richmond in this game.
Richmond scored 25 against Auburn in 37 minutes of action. Got 14 tonight. There's a three for Philon and an Alabama lead. It's LeBaron time now, 24.
Acuff will gut cup right now to get that ball back and go to work.
Williamson picks up the foul. His third.
Well, it's what we thought. We said the first one to 90. It might be the first one to 100. Short clock, and Amari Allen over the long arms of the law of Brazil with a fadeaway stick. And LeBaron Philon last year, not a great three-point shooter. This year, yes, sir. On his home floor, sticks a big one. Man, what a 7:33 left in the SEC on a Wednesday night.
Arizona's Braden Burries.
Braden Burries, freshman, gets to the lane, shoots the three. Dynamic offensive player.
Top 25 battle next. Ravi, no Koa Pete tonight with a leg injury.
Yeah, that's a big deal. This building now is loud. They're not playing elevator music inside the Coliseum right now. A terrific comeback, and you can see they've done it with just a ridiculously high rate of shooting, 85%. And Alabama's got a 1-point lead. It feels like it's been about 15 minutes since Acuff has scored.
Yeah, and how good has Alabama been offensively since the end of the first half? Elite shot making. Going back to the first half at the end, they've made 16 of the last 20 shots, has Roll Tide.
Yeah, Brazil in the paint, foot slip, threw it up, no good. Arkansas's gone cold here all of a sudden. Baron Philon has gotten very, very warm. He's got a mismatch on defense. Goes to his left. LeBaron.
That's
Another foul. Nick Pringle this time called for it. He's got 4.
Just keeping the offense simple. Nate Oates is for Philon, getting the switch that he wants. And he has seen a good rim right now. LeBaron Philon is 3 out of 5 from that three-point line. That's where he does his damage. He's got the step-back 3 now. We talked about Acuff coming in as a future lottery pick. LeBaron Philon says, don't forget about me. He's going to be a first-round high draft pick as well. Putting on a showing right now. Again, 31 NBA scouts, 23 NBA teams in the building. And Philon is giving them a lot of stuff to write down.
Something to think about.
And no doubt he is.
He scored 392 points last year, which was a very, very good freshman year. But this year, Jimmy, he's at about 525 now, 536 points this season.
I believe he's the highest usage rate player in the league in terms of finishing off possessions with a field goal attempt, a free throw attempt, or a turnover. He only has 1 turnover in this game as fast as this game's being played. That is some special stuff.
Acuff was the story in the first half. He has gone 6 minutes without a shot and a point. Out of bounds, and it'll be Alabama basketball.
Ravi, to your point, Latrell Wrightsell, although the ball was on the far side of the floor, he stayed hugged up to Darius Acuff, saying, we're going to make life really tough on you down the stretch. And as a result, he's there to disrupt that baseline pass.
Lee Thomas, the other scoring threat on the bench, 4 fouls. 6:30 to go. 7 players available for a beat-up Arkansas team on the road.
And Cal puts Billy Goat on Philon to see if he can slow down.
Wrightsell ahead of Wagner all the way. He'll shoot 2. As the foul is either on Wagner or Pringle. 4 on Wagner. They're running out of players here. Saturday, the SEC Network quadruple header. Men's basketball starts at 1 Eastern, noon Central. Third game, though, has got Philon against LSU. That's Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So a quad game, and now back as we speak about quads, meaning fouls, 4. There are 3 players for Arkansas with 4 fouls. They have 7 available.
Yeah. And Alabama comes in 4 straight games. And Nate Oates knows He's going to stay in contention for an SEC regular season title. These are must-win games. He's up 4 with 6 to go on his home floor.
Arkansas has taken 5 free throws. Alabama's taken 20.
And there's just no leave of Acuff at all right now in the half court.
Yeah, Brazil, tough pass at the feet of Pringle on the turnover for Arkansas. Phylon, way off. And nobody but Sherrill got it. And up and in. Boy, that was a slow motion rebound, and only Sherrill went after it.
Yeah, Arkansas was boxing off, and nobody went for the ball. And Cal's going to have to burn a timeout to get down to 2. It's a strange play. And Aiden Sherrill has been a real factor in this second half for Roll Tide.
A concerned citizen saw a guy rolling a body into the water from his boat.
Tommy? Long time, Hank.
She is one of the largest suppliers in the world.
If we find the kids, we find our package.
You think you can just walk away with drug money and nobody's gonna come find you? It's in the bag.
You killed my friend.
Did you catch the bad guys?
I always catch the bad guys.
Ravi, how about Aiden Sherrill, 22 and white? When Arkansas just stood and watched, and this cat went and got it. And what a game he's had, man. Having to log a lot of minutes, not a lot of depth on that front line. This big kid's got 18 points, 7 out of 9 from the field, and a big 8 rebounds.
Yeah.
Giving Nate Oates just enough of a physical presence on the inside to let those guards also go to work.
Oates was all over a few players during the free throw drill, which we alluded to earlier. One of them was Sherrill, and he's 4 of 5 tonight.
Yeah.
All part of a 17-2 run for Alabama, and 7 minutes and 15 seconds without an Acuff shot. Sitting on 29 points. How can they get him going again?
He normally doesn't need a ball screen to get to the paint.
The pull-up, and he needed it.
And that's exactly what Cal went to. He didn't bring a second defender up into the action. Just trusted Acuff to get to that elbow, win the elbow, win the jump shot.
I'll try to work the officials to get a foul on that call or future ones. Holloway, oh my! Spins it in with his right. Alabama is on fire the second half. 13 of 16 from the floor. Acuff foul.
Count it.
And they will count it. And Oates is livid.
And he cannot get a technical foul right now, Nate Oates. It'd be way too costly. And that's that continuous motion that's been brought into the college game this year. After they gather the ball, he's going to get one more step, 1-2. And we've been told that if it's close, give the benefit to the offense. There's the gather, 1-2 steps, the contact occurs. Nate Oates has an argument, but those officials are going to favor that second step this year.
Acuff's free throw drops. You wonder how big that jump shot would be.
Yeah.
Oates is also making a point on the other end. He thought that Holloway should have been given a three-point opportunity.
See, Nate Oates saying it was a second step. And how the rule reads, he's right, but how the officials call it this year, they did the right thing.
So Acuff went 7-15 without shooting. Now he's got 5 points in 9 seconds.
There he is.
Sherrill will have to kick it. 8 on the shot clock. Jemison lost it and out of bounds off of Alabama. 9th turnover.
Well, Darius Acuff went silent for 3 or 4 minute stretch, but the ball's going to be in his hands to close out this game for Arkansas. And if you're Alabama, you have to know it, because this kid, again, he doesn't need a ball screen to get in the paint.
Thomas back on the floor with 4. Pringle has got 4 fouls. Thomas drives. The floater, no good. Out of bounds, stays right where we are. Arkansas basketball.
So, this is now a special team situation. The game's been played at a frenetic pace. When the game stops and play calls are made, who wins those possessions, the remaining 4:13 is a big, big deal.
You know, it's looking at his replay review guy to see if there's a challenge on that. They decide no. Acuff by his man. Boy, Darius Acuff is back.
And Cal doesn't bring a ball screen into play. He just trusts Acuff to win that one-on-one battle. You're not going to win them all if you're Alabama, but you certainly can't lose them all. The remaining 3:51 in this game. Watch out.
Wide open down the lane.
What in the world is what Cal's saying? I mean, total confusion. That's just simple offense with a middle ball screen. Sherrill dives out of it. What a force 22 and white has been in this half.
Acuff's got 36. Richmond just threw it up there. Really didn't have a shot. And out of bounds is Alabama. It'll stay with Arkansas as we are under 4. And arguably one of the most entertaining college basketball games of the year.
Yeah, we set first 1 to 90, and Alabama's 1 point away. Look at Acuff, man. It's hard to knock him off balance. He's so good at getting his own contact to create his own space. Boom, just knocks you off. And he is an elite finisher. About 70% he shoots at the rim, and they are always contested with bodies around him. But Aiden Sherrill, yeah, you can talk about Phylon, but man, this kid in the second half just roams free right down the middle with a rip cut and finish.
Guard, he'll be huge tonight for Brigham Young.
Cougs and Cats, Ravi. Top 25 battle is next.
Well, we got a top 25 battle here between arguably 2 of the best guards in the nation. Darius Acuff just outstanding tonight, as has been LeBaron Phylon, especially Phylon in the second half. 36 and 26 between them. Alabama, by the way, in the game, Jimmy Dykes, second most paint points this season. 48 of them in the paint. They scored 54 in the paint against St. John's. We got 3:26 to go. And Brazil had an opportunity. Passed it up.
Acuff has 36, the most ever for an Arkansas freshman. He'll need at least 40 for Arkansas to win this game.
Wagner drives, kicks. Brazil can make it. Too strong. And Sherrill rips down his 9th rebound.
It was Bobby Portis, right? With 35. Was it
35?
Record holder before tonight.
Big trip for Alabama, up by 3. They have a man wide open. Wagner came in front, stole it. What a play by Wagner.
Just the second turnover by Phylon in this game. This is Acuff time.
Yeah, or Thomas or Richmond. Oh, wow. My goodness, Billy Richmond to Billy Goat.
It was Acuff time, though, Rad, because he's got so much gravity, attention on him. Just as he starts to punch the paint, they come off Richmond, and Richmond, bam, with a nice attack of the rim.
Starts to get into who wants the ball this time. Phylon's got Brazil on him all the way, lays it up and in. Phylon now with 28.
I can tell you, he wants it, and Darius Acuff wants it. Those two dudes have no fear, none.
Brazil kicks. Wagner can't get that 3 to go, and it was wide open.
Yeah, wrong guy taking the shot, though.
Wagner is 0 for 4 from 3 tonight.
We set first to 90. Well, that's been Alabama. See if it holds up.
Phylon, Wagner. Good defense. Phylon keeps it up and in. He's got 30.
Just the fight that Phylon has to not give up on the play. Wagner snuffed it out.
19 of those 30 in the second half. Can Acuff answer? That's a goaltend. He does answer. It's 38 in the game for Darius Acuff.
Well, LeBaron Phylon's got a lot of dog in him in the right way. Just so tough. That first shot doesn't go, but on this possession right here's the one I'm talking about. Wagner with great on-ball defense comes up with a rip. But Phylon very patient. Just enough of a shot fake to get Brazil out of the way. Man, how good has he been?
Call on the floor is 2. Excuse me. The call on the floor is 2 points. Further review.
All right, so they're going to take a look at whether this was in fact goaltending or not. We will take a break and come back and give you the answer. Currently 93-90, Alabama. Yep, so you can see the very veteran crew of Don Daly.
After review, the call stands. 2 points.
Doug Shouse and Chuck Jones, they looked at it. It was an official review, not a challenge by any team. And the ball was judged to be on the way down?
Yeah, or in the cylinder, or a combination of both. Terrell gets a fingertip on it. But again, it wasn't a coach's challenge. That's just the officials had the opportunity to go to, after they make that call at this stage of the game. It wasn't in the cylinder. They had to view it as coming down from that replay.
Jimmy, an insane shooting second half for Alabama. They are 16 for 19.
Man.
16 for 19, 84%. They have made their last 15 shots. And it's not against a team that's not playing defense.
No, exactly. You said it early. Florida is built to go the distance out of this league. These are the next two teams that can make a Final Four run because of how explosive they are on the offensive end.
Allen. And Thomas didn't want to foul him, and
they're going to give him the timeout call. Amari Allen with a presence to get hung up and call timeout. And Doug Shouse is going to grant it to him.
Yeah, he's going to have a conversation with the officials. You know, that was Thomas trying to avoid his fifth foul.
As Amari Allen drives this ball, he goes up and calls timeout before he comes back down. When was the timeout granted? Calipari is saying he came back down before the timeout was called, and that's the monitor review, I believe, right? Did they take a look at it?
They have not, and Shouse and Daly are both underneath the basket. And I think, obviously, Calipari's thinking, wait a sec, if he doesn't get it, it should be a travel on him.
Well,
there he said time.
Yeah, but you can't review travel calls. They never took a look at it. And regardless, a heads-up play by Amari Allen to save the possession.
Plus, it had to be a little odd for Allen to realize, like, the defender isn't really defending me. He's kind of going with me, but he's not doing anything to block my shot. They'll inbounds with 17 seconds and a 3-point lead. Richmond trying to stay in front of Philon. He's got 4 fouls on him. Brazil switches. And Philon, no. Acuff has a chance to tie. Under a minute. Acuff, 3. Too strong. Brazil keeps it alive. They have time. Malik Thomas. Whistle was blown before, and it was Arkansas who called the timeout. You heard the whistle in the background before Thomas got the shot up, and Calipari wanted to talk about it. So we will let the studio talk about it as we are in a timeout here with a 3-point game. Guys?
Ravi, incredible finish in Tuscaloosa, and we've got a great top 25 battle in the on-deck circle. Jaden Bradley at Arizona trying to put an end to their 2-game losing streak. AJ DeBonsa and BYU in Tucson. We're headed there after You Go Final.
KC, thank you very much. The SEC standings. Florida peaking right now, and they are 11-2. Arkansas trying to stay within a game. And, of course, Alabama trying to bring them back to that 4-loss pack. Interesting. You could kind of tell after Brazil kept that alive that Thomas had it in his mind. I'm going to get a shot off. And it was Arkansas who called the timeout. Off the Acuff miss, Brazil comes from behind. And watch Thomas sort of determined here. And Calipari, right there. Yep.
Taps Chuck Jones on the shoulder, gets his attention, and
look at Malik Thomas. He's like, wait, why did we do that? I would have just tied the game.
So now if you're Cal, can you get as good of a look as you just had with Malik Thomas? In live action, though, Cal want to make sure that We got 14 seconds to work with. Let's get something. It doesn't have to necessarily be a 3. Certainly that's an ideal situation, but plenty of time to make it 2, extend the game, put your pressure on, force Alabama to make free throws. You know Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas have seen a really good rim in this building. Both of them can make hard-guarded threes. Acuff can rise and fire, so can Malik Thomas.
Are you shooting a 3 on this possession?
If I can get one, absolutely I am.
Acuff 38 points, Thomas 22.
And Billy Richmond is a guy that can keep the possession alive for Arkansas if there's a miss.
Malik one-on-one, goes hard, lays it up. Oh man, he couldn't get it over the rim. So instead he will shoot 2. They opt to go for the layup. And Malik Thomas was inches away from having a chance to tie the game.
Well, that tells you what Calipari wanted. He wanted to come out and drive that ball downhill, extend the length of the game, and Malik Thomas almost had an and-one opportunity to tie this thing up.
Malik Thomas is a 79% free throw shooter. And these are his first of the night.
You want your toughest, most competitive guys on the stripe, Ravi, in a situation like this. And if it's not Acuff, Malik Thomas is 1B.
Thomas, Wagner, and Pringle 4 fouls. Richmond still has 3 fouls. So he's got one to give. Williamson's going to come in. Reitzel's going to come out as they go for the rebound here, trying to protect against Brazil or Pringle from knocking a miss off. One-point game.
And now the ball handlers come back in for Alabama. Reitzel and Holloway.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a timeout.
30-second timeout. Arkansas with no timeouts.
So Arkansas has used its last timeout here with 25 seconds to go to try to defend Alabama, who has had an 80% field goal shooting second half. That's how they've gotten back into this game. They have outscored them 46-35 and lead by 1.
Look at the second half shooting for Alabama, 80%.
Crazy.
My goodness.
Crazy.
And it's been multiple guys, Sherrill, Philon, Reitzel, all of them. So Arkansas right now, Ravi, you're out of timeouts. You're down 1. I expect full court, face guard pressure, trying to come up with a turnover, a trap. You don't have to foul immediately, but at some point you're going to have to. If you're Nate Oates, you're trying to get your best ball handlers and best free throw shooters. This should be a very small lineup. Yeah, coming out of the timeout for Nate Oates. Basically 5 guards Nate Oates puts on the floor for the press breaker and the free throw shooting. Alabama can run that baseline. And Billy Richmond on the ball will put pressure on that out-of-bounds pass.
Yeah, and you saw Holloway there asking Chuck Jones, can I run the baseline? And he was given the answer. Again, Arkansas out of timeout. So regardless of what happens down the other end, they do not have a timeout to reset. Ooh. Holloway over in 10. And Richmond will pick up his 4th foul and send a good free throw shooter and one of the best pure shooters to the free throw line, and Aiden Holloway.
Yeah, Holloway has not been to the free throw line, no, tonight. 76% in conference play. Like you said, one of the best shooters in all of college basketball, but his first time to the stripe tonight, it always feels a little different, man, your first time stepping up.
Last 3 times these teams have played, the games have been decided by 3 points or less. We appear destined to have that happen again. Holloway smooth on the first one.
Yeah, really well done. Arkansas with no timeouts left, so everything's on the fly right now. Cal communicating with his guys. And too early, if he makes this, Ravi, 18 seconds too early to foul. That thing gets down to below 5 is ideal.
Big free throw from Holloway, and it goes. It's a 3-point lead. Acuff with 38 points. Thomas 24. Both still available in this game.
Yeah, there's too much time left to foul immediately right now. Nado's saying the same thing, I believe.
Acuff rises. Ties the game.
We said he had to get 40, and he just did.
Phylon, 6 seconds. One-on-one with Richmond.
Good on good.
No good. Tipped. And we will go to overtime. Darius Acuff knocks down a 3 in front of his bench and picks up points 39, 40, and 41. What a night for the fabulous freshman from Motown.
And never changes expressions. Maybe hit one of the biggest shots for Arkansas this year. He comes down, gets a high ball screen by Trevin Brazil. And Jemison makes a defensive mistake for Alabama. He's actually inside that three-point line. Look at Jemison. He gets inside the 3. Man, that is a mistake, even standing on it. You've got to be up high. A 2 doesn't beat you. Jemison low and late, and Acuff, bam. We said he had to get to 40, and he gets to 41. Look at Billy Richmond. Stay squared up. That is good on good. Forces a tough 2 from Phylon, and we've got bonus basketball in Tuscaloosa.
KC, Acuff scored 12 points in the final 3:21 to send us to overtime.
Ravi, he's been unbelievable here. Second screen viewing mandatory this time of year. Over on ESPN News, BYU Arizona underway. Braden Burries has already knocked down a 3 for the Cats, trying to snap their 2-game skid, but you'll see it here on ESPN only after we go final, Ravi, in Tuscaloosa.
So Thomas and Acuff combined have 12 3-pointers in 17 attempts. Thomas 6 of 8, Acuff 6 of 9. That's how we got to where we are. And, you know, we're in overtime, but there are 4 critical players with 4 fouls on Arkansas.
Yeah, and, well, Darius Acuff has just taken over this game. He went about a 3-minute stretch where Alabama did a good job on him, but then Cal said, forget it. We're going to isolation basketball. He doesn't need a ball screen. Just let my guy go to work. And 41 points in a 40-minute game. There's not a player in the country that's more important to his team than Darius Acuff is to Arkansas. He's been the freshman of the week in SEC a record 7 times, and he has probably just jumped into the front of the race for SEC Player of the Year. Okay, he has been that good.
Great byplay going on with Acuff and Phylon right now. And not in a bad way, but no. Man, they are enjoying this atmosphere and their play. And out of bounds off the Crimson Tide. As entertaining a game as we've seen all year in college basketball, Jimmy. 95 all. We'll get to 100 in this one.
Acuff has played all 40 minutes. Yep. 41 points. 1 turnover. He's a big-time pro in a college game. Yeah.
Wagner again, finally finds the bottom, his first 3 of the night.
And that's about his percentage on the year, 20%. One was due to go in. A big start for Arkansas to start this overtime.
They get it down low to Sherrill. Brazil from behind with a block.
He has been their shot blocker the last 3 games. Has Trevin Brazil so quick and so long recovering to that ball.
Arkansas has won the battle on the block front. 5 in the game now.
Acuff looks just as fresh as he did the opening minute.
Yeah, they're going to leave Richmond open, and he knocks it down. How about it? Wagner and Richmond making the shots in overtime.
Billy Goat.
Phylon, no chance for a reverse. They kick to Allen's 3. No good. Kept alive by Sherrill. What a job. Aiden now 22.
Man, look at the minutes that Sherrill has played in this game, Rav. He's up to plus 29 minutes. And just continues to make energy play after energy play.
Brazil, a floater. No good.
A tough shot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
again.
And that is Thomas, and that is number 5 on Malik Thomas.
It's the second time that Malik Thomas has reached out on Philon's jersey. Cal feeling like Philon may be pushed off, but out there at the top of the key in the open floor, there's nowhere to hide. And man, that is a big, big 5th foul on Malik Thomas.
Huge.
Right there. That's an automatic. 2 hands on the ball handler's an automatic whistle. He's done it twice in this half.
That's 24 points, 6 rebounds, a scoring threat to go along with Acuff that's now out of the game. And the blessing and the curse of the 3-pointer from Acuff was it kept the game alive and sent it to overtime. But you got 4 guys, now 1 with 5 fouls and 3 others with 4.
So, Ravi, now it makes those gaps for Acuff to get down much tighter, because you can really start to shrink the court defensively for your Alabama with Wagner and Richmond and Pringle on the floor. Not going to beat you from 3. And now the baskets for Acuff are going to get that much tougher. And Terrell just sits back, waiting to absorb the drive of Richmond, and Richmond has no part of it with a tough 2.
Alabama's been very good from the free throw line, 18 of 23 tonight.
And as much as Arkansas drives the ball and gets downhill, only 8 free throw attempts in this game.
Silver lining is Richmond and Wagner have both made shots in overtime. Hogs by 1. Acuff blow by. No good on a finger roll. Richmond is there, still battles and wins the battle. Billy Richmond is a magnet when it comes to getting the basketball.
He is a beast.
Brazil down low to Richmond, nowhere to go. 2 seconds on the shot clock. Acuff's got to fire. Plenty of time in overtime. 2:30 to go. Millett, where have you been? Houston Millett. First points of the night coming overtime from number 95.
Alabama's so good at that ghost screen, fake screen action, getting guys open.
Acuff, no, but he will get a chance to shoot 2 free throws and potentially tie a record for most points by a Razorback in an SEC game.
Well, Arkansas puts 2 on the ball, and one of those 2 was assigned to Millett, who just sneaks away. And Nate Oates says, that's our offense. We're going to spread you out. And anytime you put 2 on the ball, I'm going to pop a guy out off a ghost screen, whatever it is. And Houston Millett makes Arkansas pay with a big one.
Acuff knocks down his 42nd point. If he can make this, he will match Todd Day, who scored 43 for Arkansas at LSU back in '92. 43 for Acuff. What a night. Tied at 102.
And has not come off the floor for a second, Darius Acuff.
He made a great point. He has never once this season played tired.
No.
Wagner nearly had the interception. Short 3, hustle rebound, loose ball. Sherrill. They got plenty of time, but Reitzel fires. No good. Brazil had it.
I thought he got grabbed. Nate Oates saying that he fell.
Don Daly doing a good job to prevent anybody from picking up a technical foul.
Yeah, just a good job to walk away. They understand the frustrations of mid-February. But as Brazil goes up, right there is what the officials saw. The hand in the back of Brazil. It looked like a pull down enough to make the call.
You mentioned how few free throws Arkansas has attempted tonight. These will be the first for Brazil in the game. Trevin Brazil is only a 62% free throw shooter. Soft rim. Brazil now with 7 points, Jimmy. He's been pretty quiet offensively, but his blocks have been a
no doubt
difference maker in this game.
Keeping the ball alive on the glass as well.
One of two. They want a foul on Brazil. Everybody here in the Coliseum, they did not get the call. Brazil only has one personal. Blow by. Pringle.
Well, Arkansas got cross-matched really for no reason. Brazil picked up the basketball in the backcourt and put himself on a guard. And that played into the favor of Alabama to come down and just spread the floor, keep it simple, keep it clean.
Second Razorback to foul out, so they've lost 2. They had 7 to start tonight. So Malik Ewan is going to have to play the last 90 seconds of this overtime.
Man, what a game. 2 teams that are trying to stay in contention in the SEC regular season race. Florida with only 2 losses. Arkansas with 3, Bama with 4, Vanderbilt, Tennessee also right there. Tennessee won tonight. But Florida right now with a 1-game lead, possibly 2 if Arkansas can't get out of here with a win.
Story of the game has been just the uncanny ability of Alabama to put the ball in the basket in the second half and now in overtime. I mean, at one point they were shooting 80%.
Look what Nate Oates has done for Alabama basketball. This place is jam-packed. The winningest coach in the SEC since he's been hired is Nate Oates. And
Reitzel's free throw no good. Reitzel, of course, had the big shot late in the game a couple of years ago in this rivalry. 76% free throw shooter, gets 1 to tie it back up with 1:30.
Got 2 future pro guards. Acuff with 43 tonight, Philon with 32. They will have a big say in the outcome of this one.
Acuff peeks at the clock, sees 15. He got bounced. Yes, he did. The body by Allen sent Acuff out of bounds and now to the free throw line.
He's got that ball on a string. And all he was doing was sizing up the defender, creating just a little enough of an angle and leverage. The back dribble is what gets this thing started. He back dribbled out, and the defense sucked up with him. And he just goes right down the left side of that pipe and gets himself to that line.
5 of 5 for number 5 from the free throw line. It hangs on. He's got 44 points.
There's something about city tough guards on the free throw line in close games. They shoot about 90% over the years, it seems like. And he's one of them.
Amazing individual performance from Acuff. That one drops. 45 points in the game. Equally amazing, Philon on the other side.
Well, you want Aiden Sherrill around that rim when the shot's taken as an offensive rebounder. He's going to set a ball screen, but he'll dive out of it.
You went on the baseline trying to play defense, but he got too much body on Amari Allen. You mentioned it. Amari Allen, as a freshman, has played himself into NBA draft conversation. 17 points tonight, a double-double with 11 rebounds.
Allen to shoot 2.
Well, he hasn't been off the floor much. He's one of those guys for NATO, it's just hard to take him off the floor because everything that he does, he's right at 40 minutes tonight with the 44 that we've played.
28th free throw attempt is good for Alabama. Back to a tie game, under a minute to play in overtime.
Cal has 1 timeout left if he doesn't like what he sees. Going to go horns high for Acuff. Again, trusting 5 to make the right play.
He's been guarded by Allen. Wagner tries again. That no good. Brazil from behind. And it's now a chance for Alabama.
Why? That's not the offense that Cal wanted. A corner three from Wagner.
7-second difference between game and shot clock. Alabama's got timeouts if they want to use them.
I want Sherrill to get near that rim.
Reitzel kick in the corner. 5 on the shot clock. He drives. Allen fires. No good. Out of bounds. And a shot clock violation.
A really good weak side box off. I think it was from Acuff to get down and scrape down in the fight early in this game. Man, he was eating up defensive rebounds with that time. A good shield off. And Arkansas with 6 seconds to work with.
Don Daly, I think, is going to go to the monitor just to check the time on the clock to make sure it's all right.
In the last 2 minutes, we have to put the exact time back on when the shot clock violation occurred.
Yeah. So Arkansas, Jimmy, will have an opportunity now to talk it over.
Yeah, they're going to compare the shot clock at zeros to the game clock.
Yeah, it looks like about 7 seconds.
When the shot clock violation occurred, 7.3 will be on the game clock.
That's over 7. That's a big deal because it gives Arkansas another bounce to the ball if they want to. Plenty of time for Acuff to rush that thing downhill and get one off at the rim again. He is elite. I don't like to use that word a lot. It gets overused, but he is elite finishing at the rim. About 70% is what he makes at the rim. That would be option 1A, you're sure, for Cal coming out.
Is it 1A, B, C, and D? Is there any way that Acuff doesn't have the ball in his hands?
No, there's no way.
When the game winds down and the last shot has to be taken.
And it's got to be taken early enough for Trevin Brazil and Billy Goat to come in for an offensive rebound, right? Those are 2 guys Cal's got on the floor. Acuff, Brazil, Ewan, Wagner, and Richmond.
The game had an NBA feel all game with the way they were scoring, and to see a score of 105-105 with 7 seconds to go in overtime, led by Acuff and his 45 points.
Well, at the end of regulation, a defensive mistake by Alabama. They don't switch out high and hot with high hands, and that's just easy money for Darius Acuff. 44% on the year from 3.
Look, if they can get it to overtime, they'd be okay with it. They want to win out, but they literally have 5 guys, and 2 of them have 4 fouls.
Well, Acuff's going to take it out, but Ravi, this is going to be a play where he takes it out, he throws it in, they get it right back to him, and he's going to come with speed. You got Richmond, Ewan, and Trevin Brazil as offensive rebounders. Everyone will be involved on the glass.
Can he cap off one of the great nights?
Can they get it back to him? Yeah,
Arkansas history. Acuff will rise. No good. Tip. No. Acuff couldn't get it to go. And the tip from Ewan, no good. We go to a second overtime.
But a great play by Cal to trust Acuff for that pull-up jump shot. And you know what? Really good defense by Alabama. They built enough of a wall that Acuff couldn't get to the cup. That's the play I called for. Throw it in, get it back, and get him downhill. And a little bit of a ball screen, a ghost screen by Ewan, and Acuff just reads it, but several white jerseys choked him off getting all the way to the paint, and Ewan almost comes in with a cleanup. And we play 5 more. Good job of surrounding Acuff with white jerseys.
We play 5 more, Jimmy. They're hard-pressed to have 5 on the floor.
Now, he may have to go with, Cal may have to go with someone that just literally doesn't play.
Acuff could not complete what has been as good an individual performance as we have seen all season. 45 points, KC. We go to a second overtime, 105 all.
And Ravi, we've got a ratings bonanza over on ESPN News right now. Top 25 matchup, BYU and Arizona. AJ DeBonce's got 6. It's a 4-point game. We promised to bring it to you here on ESPN, but only after we go final in T-Town.
When you think about some of the performances individually we have seen over the years, Jimmy, and on the road, and the shooting percentage, the freshman nature, the point guard, this has got to be top 3, top 5.
Yeah, I go back to Jody Meeks from Kentucky, put 54 on Tennessee one night. I was there. But this game, on this big stage for a true freshman who was playing high school ball last year, is really incredible. It's the kind of stuff that takes you from you're in the conversation for SEC Player of the Year to the front runner for SEC Player of the Year. That's what Darius Acuff has done in my eyes tonight.
Says a lot in the SEC. The other part that you're seeing in the conversation there between Allen and Acuff, the mutual respect.
No doubt.
When somebody's throwing 45 at you. Then Philon's got 32, and Sherrell's got a tremendous night of rebounding. Double-double for Allen. But again, two guys, Ewan and Wagner with 4 fouls. I should say Wagner and Richmond, 4 fouls for Arkansas, who's already lost 2 players.
What a game for Cal to only have 7 guys.
Yes.
And he ends up in a double overtime game. Acuff will get it. If he gives it up, he'll do a gut cut or get back. Right there it was.
Down low, Richmond. Pretty pass from Acuff.
He is so good, Ravi Acuff, at giving it up and gut cutting or giving it up and get back action. Right back to finding Billy Richmond down low.
5 rebounds, 5 assists, 45 points. And there was no foul, turnover, and a run-up. Richmond, no good. And Ewan put the ball down, and he threw it away.
What was that?
Philon trying to use the body of Sherrell, didn't get it there. Holloway finds Sherrell. No foul on Ewan.
Well, the pass by Ewan was a very soft pass. And anything soft in a game like this is going to get punished. And Ewan was right there around the rim, and I'm not sure what he saw or what his thoughts were, but
I think it just sped up on him a little bit.
Yeah. This is why I like Sherrell around the rim to finish this game. He's been an 85% free throw shooter on the year.
4 of 5 tonight, 5 of 6. Instant classic between Arkansas and Alabama. Second overtime, 107-106.
Haven't the last 4 games between these two teams been like
3 points or less?
2 points? They're built so similar, man. Elite athletes, high scoring, future pros, and a classic again tonight because of it.
Well, they're going to send Acuff to the free throw line. A hold called against Latrell Reitzel. 3:42 to go, Jimmy. He's thinking about 50 points.
Well, Reitzel's trying to top block him, but he gets caught holding, trying to keep Acuff from making those scoring cuts back to the basketball. Acuff has learned as the year's gone on how to sell those fouls even better than he was back in November, December.
That's short. Little legs getting a little tired for Acuff, who's played every minute. First free throw he missed tonight, now 7 of 8. And it rattles home, back on top, and 46 points for Darius Acuff. They have been on Holloway like a straitjacket. They have not allowed him to get off tonight. Philon checks the clock.
Good on good, Richmond and Philon.
Oh boy, they're going to call Richmond, and that is number 5 on Billy Richmond.
Richmond or Wagner? I'm not sure, Ravi, which one it was. But it's on Richmond. I mean, Richmond right here, 24 in red. They could have gone either way. Probably Richmond was the first guy to foul with his right arm into the torso of Philon. It is a crazy spot that Cal is in this game.
Three Razorbacks have fouled out. Cal came with 7 guys that he felt he could play.
Ravi, they can go to the monitor and make sure they got the foul on the right guy. They called it initially on Richmond.
Daly has the headset on, and he's looking at the monitor along with Chuck Jones. It looks like, Jimmy, Jaden Karaletwa is the player that they will bring in, a sophomore out of Sun Valley, California.
He's played all of 21 minutes on the year.
So there's the hand of Richmond right on
right there.
Body. And then Wagner reached in late.
I think they took it off of Richmond and put it on Wagner. Is exactly what happened.
All right, so that being the case, Wagner is fouled out.
Yeah, but that to me,
Richmond
that favors Arkansas,
yes.
though, right? Nate Oates not happy with it. He felt like it was Richmond was the guy to foul first.
Right there.
Yeah. And then Wagner, bam, right there. And that's a big over.
After review, the foul was taken away from red 24 and put on red 21. Red 21 has fouled out.
I mean, that's a big call to get changed on the monitor.
You'd have to kind of listen to it again. The whistle seemed to blow late, meaning it was likely on Wagner as opposed to Richmond.
Yeah.
Either way, you get a chance to see, as you said, Jaden Karaletwa, who has played 20 minutes this season, and he gets thrown into the game tonight. And again, the injury to Carter Knox, he didn't even make the trip. Left them with 7 players. LeBaron Philon goes to the free throw line, where he is 9 of 11 tonight. And he can't get it to go.
Well, Karaletwa is going to be in charge of defending either Holloway, Reitzel, Philon, somebody. And if you're Nate Oates,
you're trying to take advantage
you go
of that.
right at him. Absolutely, you do. Not a knock against him, but it's a kid that just doesn't play. And now he's on a huge stage.
And you would think they would slough off him and send the second guy on to A-Cup when they can.
I'm not even sure he knows all the play calls. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, he's got the ball in his hands. Richmond fires down low. Brazil, great look from Richmond.
And how about Karaletwa? Gets the ball, makes a play with the ball, gets himself under control, keeps the ball moving. Really well done for a kid that is probably startled that he's on the floor.
Arkansas by 2, still plenty of time. Philon got his man up in the air. Brazil goaltend. Cal is asking the officials, can we look at that?
Well, he can't call for the challenge.
He's certainly trying to.
He can call out of bounds off of. Ball's going up. Oh, wow. That ball's going. This is not the view to use for the most part, we're told by the officials.
He convinced them to make it a review.
Yeah, normally in this situation, Rav, the official can make the call and go look at it. I will say this, it's very difficult to block a shot when you're inside the restricted arc when you leave, and that's where Brazil was. Is there enough evidence to overturn it? It's too late there. That ball's got to be, it's not in the cylinder yet. As it reaches apex and started its way down is what you'd be looking for. They are looking at the same views that we have.
Goaltending was the call.
Yeah.
After video review, the basket interference goaltending is confirmed. 2 points.
To tie the game up.
Yeah, I don't think there's another view that can take it away. It did look like, to me, the ball was at its apex and just starting to rotate downward. And we're tied again with 2:40 to go.
A testament to the stamina of the Arkansas Razorbacks. Again, starting the game with 7, but really both teams that were in our second overtime. Aiden Sherrill just had a bag of ice applied to the back of his neck while he stood there during this timeout.
You know, they collaborate with the group back in Birmingham on these replays, and back on the headset, and there may be another shot that they're looking at back at headquarters. They may reverse this.
So I think it's important to explain that it's not just the officials here that look at review. In generally the sports, Major League Baseball and others, there's a control room that has a variety of other angles or just other eyeballs on it.
Correction with the review. The ball was going up, no basket. Because no one had possession of the ball, we go with the alternating possession arrow, which will favor Alabama. So it'll be Alabama's ball with 16 seconds on the shot clock.
That is a big, big call to be made, confirmed, and then overturned. But that ball, in the eyes of who took a look at it and called those officials back over, said that ball's still going up. So play was stopped, no possession. Alternating possession gives it to Alabama.
It appears that call was made in Birmingham, Jimmy, as Sherrill's under the basket. He's got a layup, and he makes it.
Keep him around the rim.
What a night for Aiden Sherrill. 26 points, 13 rebounds, tied again.
There has not been a better game in college ball this year than what you're watching.
Richmond, no, that was halfway down. Philon, Brazil only has a foul, and that goes in. LeBaron Philon, 35 in the game.
Yeah, they get the switch on Brazil, who comes out and has to take on the ball, and Philon just wins that one-on-one match.
Acuff looks for Richmond to set that screen, which he does. Reitzel's leaving Colorado wide open, and that's going to be 3 free throws as Holloway fouls Acuff.
Acuff just has a knack. And Aiden Holloway has made strides as a defender, but Acuff is, like I said earlier, he has become so good at selling fouls. Where's the contact? Right there on the elbow is what they called.
3 shots. First one good.
I mean, the replay, it sure looked like contact on the elbow, right, by Reitzel? I mean, excuse me, by Holloway?
It looked that way. And Acuff has 48 points. There's been one 50-point game in the NCAA this year, and he's 1 shy right now as Arkansas is back on top. Richmond is on the floor with 4 fouls. He got his 5th right there. Will they allow the continuation for Holloway? Oates is begging for it.
Nato just saying it's the same thing that went against us in the last overtime. After you gather the ball, no, he was fouled way before they gathered the ball. That's the right call.
But Jimmy, now that Richmond is fouled out, you're going to have a second substitute. Looks like Elmer Zaptic is coming into the game.
And he has played a total of 15 minutes on the year. Big number 15 in red. You came in with 7. to start the game in your rotation, and you've lost 4.
Yeah, the nightmare scenario, and Cal was talking about it during shoot-around this morning.
Can Darius Acuff carry his team across the finish line with 2 guys that basically don't play, not sure they even know the plays? What a game. Right there with Jody Meeks's 54 at Knoxville years and years ago is what this kid has done on the road. How you judge guards, he has delivered.
Darius Acuff is averaging a point a minute in this game. He has played 49 minutes and has scored 49 points. Alabama's got Holloway to tie it, and he will.
Well, I will say this. The offense, obviously, is Darius Acuff. Maybe Brazil setting a ball screen.
That's it.
A pick and pop, and that is it. That is absolutely it. Now, the good news is Arkansas probably only has 2 offensive possessions left. But if you're Alabama, you cannot let Darius Acuff beat you this last 123.
I'll say this about Zafik, who's into the game. He is a 7-footer.
No doubt he is.
Allen face guarding Acuff. Up to the rim. No, Ewan.
Could Ewan have gotten that ball with 2 hands? Exactly what Cal is thinking. That's a high risk.
War of attrition being played by Arkansas right now as Philon finds Millett. Dagger free in the corner. How about the shooting of Houston Millett tonight? He's only made a couple. They've been huge. Two 3-point field goals for Houston Millett, maybe the biggest 3-point field goals of the night.
Well, he is all about winning, Houston Millett. Went to Coach Oates a few weeks ago and said, hey, don't worry about me starting, man. Whatever's best for the team. And he and Reitzel off that bench has delivered some big-time baskets in this game. Ravi, Alabama now up to their 10th 3-point make. They came in making 13, but they always have shooters tucked away in that deep corner. And Millett just sitting there waiting in a long closeout for Arkansas to get to.
I think that's the great point about what Nate Oates has created here, Jimmy, is when you watch them break out into their shooting rotations in the shoot-around, the basketball goes into the net 80% of the time, and all of them make threes, all of them.
I was here, what, a month ago, and he and I had a long conversation about why he puts guys in those deep corners and parks them there. It flattens out the defense. It makes the gaps much bigger for Philon to get downhill. It is a constant threat when you play Crimson Tide. Those deep 3-corner shots.
Not over yet. 4-point game. We're in the second overtime. 46 seconds to go. And the 2 players that have been forced into this game have played a combined 35 minutes. 14 less than Acuff has been on the floor tonight. Brazil to the paint.
Wow.
Rises. And Zafik set one of those roadblocks.
He did his job, did he not? 15 in red. And a 10-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock. And what does Cal want to do here defensively?
He's trying to explain things to 2 players who just don't play. Philon all the way to the basket. Denied temporarily. They have 5 on the shot clock.
No, don't foul.
Allen throws it up. No good. Brazil has it. They got 7 seconds. Down by 2. Acuff again, too strong. Oh, Ewan had it to tie, and there's no whistle, and the game is over. Alabama survives in double overtime. Oh, Malik Ewan had an opportunity to finish The A-cuff miss and heartbreak for the Hogs.
You won't see a better college basketball game all year than what we just watched. The last 2 hours and 47 minutes. And the effort by Acuff to go for 49 on the road. Philon for Alabama with 35. Sherrill with a huge 26 and 13 rebound game for him. Guys just absolutely played their hearts out. And Acuff's going to get this thing with 8 seconds to go. He does the right thing. They're going to drive the ball. They don't want to foul. And Acuff works his way through. And a good screen again by Zofik. And it is right there for the take. And a good job by Ewan to get to the front of the rim.
Yeah, he was right there.
Right there with inside position. Goes up with 2 hands and just can't get it to go down. An instant classic in Tuscaloosa tonight. What a game.
Second time this season, it seems almost insignificant, but it's the second time this season that Alabama has overcome a 14-point deficit.
Ravi, these are 2 teams that are a real threat behind Florida to get to the Final Four, and you saw it on full display in this game.
What a phenomenal effort from everybody on the production staff as well. Our producer, Scott Matthews, and the entire crew here in Tuscaloosa. For Jimmy Dykes, I'm Carl Ravitch. What a night. 117, 115.